So you found meditation techniques that have made you reliably happier?
Okay, like, okay, so when I think of meditation techniques, I actually try and I'm trying to switch over the framework to, instead of talking about meditation, I talk about like happiness workouts,
Mm.
because then it can, like, expand past just like what counts traditionally as meditation.
Mm.
So I think that's like the underlying goal of all of this. And so I think the one that I found that has had like the most long-term results, but of course it can't be applied to everything, is identity changes. So like Atomic Habits talks about this, where he's like, oh, like the foundational thing is like, how do you identify, right? So he gives an example of, say you're trying to quit smoking, and somebody offers you a cigarette and you say, no, I'm trying to quit. That's a
Mm.
very different response than saying, no, I don't smoke.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I'm not a smoker. You've
Mm.
changed your identity around that. And I've had massive success with that. Like, that's basically just being permanent with like a bunch of different things. So the main ones were, one point I just decided that I was a tough person.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think, yeah, like before I kind of had this idea, like, like every time I got hurt, I would actually even describe it. I'm like, I'm a total delicate flower. Every time I get hurt, like, I just like whine and complain the whole time. And then I was like, I was talking to my friend and he was saying like, man, like, I think that you're really like affected by this, like that, like, I think that you and I experience the same, like, stimulus, and you'll suffer way more. It's because you have this thing. And I was like, you're probably right. And so I just kind of like switched, and I was like, okay, well, I was able to tap into, so I'm Canadian. My dad's like this crazy mountain man, like just like he's actually going out into the jungle and the mountains, like looking for gold. And
Cool.
um,
Wow.
yeah,
Has he ever
I'm pretty
found
sure
gold?
he's he has found gold, yeah. But I don't
Wow.
think it was ever, yeah. But that's actually not the hardest part. The hardest part is finding gold in such a way that you could actually build a mine around it. Because you can
Mm.
find like, oh, there's a little bit of gold, but it's not enough to justify building a mine. And
Mm.
so, yeah. But anyways, I've done a bunch of work with him, and it was like ridiculously hard. Just like hiking up and down mountains with no trails, with like, tons of rocks on your back, and bears and bugs and rock slides and all of this stuff, right? And
Compared to that,
so I just like,
founding a charity sounds much easier.
yeah, and it is.
There's
Oh my
no
God.
bears. There's no bears in the charity space. There's not one.
Oh man, the last time I had a nightmare about a bear was a long time ago. It's really nice. Um, and so I was able to like just tap into this identity of like, okay, if I did that, like, clearly I must be tough, right? I mean, to be fair, I was complaining most of the time, but now everything is really small compared to that. Like, so I can be like, okay, like, I'm a tough Canadian mountain woman. I can handle everything. And yeah, now pain just bothers me a lot less. It's still there, but like, it just lowered the amount of suffering I have when I have physical pain, by a huge amount. I've also gotten over mosquitoes. Like, I just decided one day, I'm like, I'm not the sort of person who's bothered by mosquitoes. And I went from somebody who was like, every time there was a mosquito, I'd be like the person constantly tracking and like just up my anxiety.
Mm.
I learned to like the rain. Now I like the rain. That was
Nice.
really handy. I grew up in, like, west coast of Canada, and then like spent a lot of time in London.
Yep, yep. In Seattle, there's so much rain. You have to like it, or else you are miserable 90% of the time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.